Hey everyone, it's Peek. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another Pokemon Unite video. So today I'm going to be going over my personal opinion on a sort of tier list for the held items in Pokemon Unite. Now, disclaimer, these items may change upon release. However, I would expect them to be at least relatively the same in terms of the bonuses they offer, since those bonuses were very similar to what we saw in March, the Canadian beta test. So keep that in mind. This info is subject to change. Really wanted to emphasize that before I go any further, because I have been hesitant to do tier lists, especially on the Pokemon, due to the fact that, you know, a lot can change from the build we were playing on for the Japanese network test on June 24th until whenever the launch is, which, you know, fingers crossed, hopefully soon, so we can start actually, you know, playing the live game. But until then, I'm gonna share with you guys my thoughts on the different held items. Now, before I get started as well, I want to thank at Pollux Saberbat on Twitter. Super great person, played a lot with them in the Japanese network test, and as well as the Canadian beta that happened for a couple weeks there back in March. Super good player, super good person, really funny, really entertaining, just great vibes in general. So go check him out on Twitter, drop him a follow, let him know I sent you. And that would be great. So yeah, thanks Pollux for making this little tier list maker for me to use. Really appreciate that. So just gonna slap all the battle items in here. If you guys want me to in the future make a list or a tier list for them, definitely I could do that. Just let me know if you want me to do that, and maybe we can do that in the future. But for now, I'm not going to be talking about them. Spoiler alert, Springboard is pretty good. But I'm just going to be talking about the held items for this video. So basically how I'm going to do this is I'm going to like flick back and forth between Unite DB and this page. Shoutouts to Unite DB. Great website. It's just unite/db.com. Great website to get accurate numbers from the Japanese network test. Again, these numbers might not be the same things we see at launch, but they are one of the only places I found that have up-to-date numbers. So I'm going to be using that for today. At least like up-to-date numbers in terms of what we saw from the Japanese network test. So, you know, shout outs to them as well. Thank you so much for, you know, already making these community resources. Great to see that happening. So I'm just going to get started here, start kind of just going through, and this is Ao's cookies. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, there are stacking items in this game. And what I mean by that is every time you score a goal with one of these items, here I'll just hover over for you guys to see. Every time you score a goal, a certain stat is increased. For the Ao's cookie, it is your max HP. And all these items I'm going to be talking about as if they're level 30. You'll see like the bonus changes and the amount changes. So like at level 1, this item is not going to give you 240 base HP and also 200 max HP per stack. It's only going to give you that at level 30. So, you know, hopefully this list kind of gives you guys an idea of what you want to level first in terms of items, because those resources will be limited. So Ao's cookie is one of the stacking items that I talk a lot about, and until recently I didn't really consider it as something to be good. But honestly, I think for a lot of supports that kind of serve a pseudo tank purpose, such as Wigglytuff or Mr. Mime, which, you know, I'm like a little Mr. Mime, but Wigglytuff, super good character. I think Ao's cookie is actually really good on them, and a lot of other like support / tank oriented characters as well, because just the fact that you can get multiple stacks of HP, like most of the stacking items, at least from what we know, stack up to 6 times. That, again, that may change, and I'll certainly let you guys know once launch happens, once we know like how many times do these items stack max, because there's a cap. Like you can't just like keep scoring goals of 1 and stacking this infinitely and have like infinite HP, but you can get a sizable amount of HP, excuse me, just through scoring goals. And little goals at that. Like I mentioned in a lot of previous videos, even a goal as small as a 1-point goal will get you a stack on one of these 3 stacking items. So Ao's cookie, I think, is honestly a really good option. It's not going to be the best, like it's not going to be something you want to take like all the time, but for like Wigglytuff, maybe even Eldegoss, like depending on your play style, like if you play up a little bit more on Eldegoss, like you could definitely see the extra HP coming in handy, especially because items like, and I'll get to this later, I might as well talk about them now. Items like Buddy Barrier, which I'm gonna put up here in the best choices. Items like Buddy Barrier scale off of your max HP. So let me just read this. Buddy Barrier gives you 600 HP at level 30. Grant a shield to the user and the nearby allied Pokemon with the lowest HP when the user uses their Unite move. And at level 30, this grants 40% of your HP. So, like, you know, 40% of your HP, adding an extra, let's say 6 stacks of the Aos cookie, adding plus the 240 inherent, you know, you're getting 1440. It's like a resolution. I say that number too much, like 1440p, 1080p. 1440 max HP to, you know, kind of accentuate your Buddy Barrier. So, like, these items, Aos Cookie and Buddy Barrier, synergize quite a lot. And speaking of items that synergize pretty well, Score Shield is another one of those. Score Shield also kind of functions as a percentage of your max HP. So, you know, the more HP you have, the more your Score Shield is going to be. So what Score Shield does, it gives you 240 HP at base, gives you extra movement speed, which, you know, can kind of be handy. In testing this, like, it doesn't really seem that significant, but, you know, again, these numbers can change, these values can change, and the impact of them can change in the official launch. So just be aware of that. But, you know, extra movement speed never hurt anyone, especially in a game that's 10 minutes long. You want to be able to cover as much terrain as possible, so Score Shield is a great item. And you'll find that, you know, just all these things combined really make this a solid choice. So what this does is when you start the scoring animation, and there's a bit of a cooldown to this, by the way. Like, you can't just, like, keep getting a Score Shield. Not sure exactly what the cooldown is, but when I tested it in the Canadian beta, there was a small cooldown. Like, you couldn't just keep spamming goal and getting a Score Shield. When you attempt to score, you'll get a shield. Now, that shield blocks any kind of damage, and it also, like, allows you to remain uninterrupted. That's the huge thing. So, you know, like, if you've ever, like, had 40 points, you're, like, this close to scoring, but someone just auto-attacks you or lands on you from the jump pad, this Score Shield can actually negate the damage from the jump pad. And if you know anything about the jump pad, when you use the jump pad onto your goal, there's a bit of a, like, buffer when you initially land on the ground and knock up Pokemon around you before you can, like, start attacking or using moves. So, like, a lot of the benefit of Score Shield is going to be in the last 5 minutes of the game when people are using jump pad on the tier 2 goals, and you are able to basically be uninterrupted and keep channeling your Score Shield and dunk before they're able to attack you. So, and, you know, as well, like, at the beginning of the game, like, Score Shield's super useful, gives you 10% of your HP, which is quite a lot, at level 30, of course. Again, it just allows you to get off those little micro goals that allow you to stack items like Aos cookies. So, you know, Aos cookie, Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, solid option in terms of synergy for like tanks, for supports, and frankly any Pokemon. Like, you know, you should never say no to max HP, but, you know, for damage dealers, there's going to be better options, which we'll talk about. But hopefully that covers that. And, you know, I don't think you'll be surprised that I put Score Shield up in the top tier picks, because it's so solid. Like, the whole point of Pokemon Unite is scoring points. And, like, if you get interrupted, like, you're not scoring points. Simple as that. And if you get interrupted, you're not stacking your stacking items like the Aos cookie or the attack weight or the special attack specs, you know. Like, it's honestly going to be, in my opinion, a must take for almost all Pokemon. There, I said it. In fact, let's put it right there. So that's my opinion on that. Moving on, Assault Vest. So here's the thing about Assault Vest. It gives you a shield against special attack damage. Now, a thing about the special attack damage is that not every Pokemon deals special attack damage. It's really weird. But it kind of makes sense in the context of the Pokemon universe, metaverse, whatever. That, for example, Pokemon like Lucario don't even do, like, any special attack damage from what we can tell in terms of, like, testing on damage, like, dummies. So, like, in the practice lobby of Pokemon Unite, if you, enter as a Pokemon of whatever your choice is, there is a, like, little substitute doll you can hit, and it tells you like the damage type, it tells you how much damage per second you're doing, stuff like that. So, you know, super good resource if you want to test out how much damage you do. And, you know, there are Pokemon out there who, like, just strictly don't do special attack damage. Garchomp is another one of those. Doesn't do any special attack damage. Assault Vest grants you, albeit a rather large shield, 15% of your HP, and it, like, regenerates over time while you're out of combat. If you've seen any gameplays, like, I never use this item because I don't really play characters that use this kind of thing, but, you know, it's really good against, like, characters like Pikachu that do a lot of special attack damage with their abilities. You can basically negate a lot of the poke that happens in the laning phase of the game, and, you know, Assault Vest is great for that. But, like, again, it's one of those, like, I have to put it in the situational category because, like, you're not always going to want it, and especially depending on the enemy's team comp, which, as far as we know in ranked, like, there's not a pick ban system. You're not going to be able to see the enemy's team comp. I mean, there will likely always be at least one Pokemon on the enemy team that does a lot of special attack damage, but it's not always going to be the case. But, you know, if that is the case, like, say, for example, you're against a Pikachu in lane, like, 42 special defense, some extra HP, and a shield that constantly regenerates while you're out of combat, which, you know, is very easy to do while you're in lane. You just step back a little bit. Against special attack, you know, super solid option for those scenarios. But again, it's one of those, like, this is kind of a niche item. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to move on to attack weight. This is another one of our stacking items. I actually used this in the Japanese network test and a lot of gameplays with, like, Greninja and Cinderace and all those. So you saw me going for small little goals so that I was able to stack up this item and get attack boosts. So what attack weight does is you start out with, you know, only 18 base attack from the item, which is not a lot, but it's, you know, a decent chunk. And every time you score a goal up to 6 times, you can get 12 attack points, or to your attack stat or whatever. So, you know, that looks like, let's see, 72 plus 18, that's 90 attack you could get at level 30. Granted, the item has to be level 30, and at 6 goals scored during the game. So if you can score 6 goals in a game, you're walking into a Zapdos fight with 90 extra attack than the enemy Greninja, the enemy Cinderace, the enemy Garchomp. You're doing a lot more damage. 90 attack is a lot. Like, for example, like, Rocky Helmet's gonna give you, like, 42 defense. Like, hopefully that puts into perspective, like, how much 90 attack is. Obviously, those aren't, like, a 1-to-1, like, damage reduction thing. Like, defenses will always do a little bit more than attack stats. But, you know, 90 attack, super good. For not champions, for Pokemon that are heavily physical attack based, like Greninja, like Garchomp, Lucario, Cinderace, Pokemon like that. So, you know, again, like, you're gonna see a trend here, like, and I might as well just talk about it at the same time. The last of the 3 stacking items is a special attack specs. Now this isn't, like, always gonna be good as often as attack weight, just because, like, not as many Pokemon do special attack damage with their moves. But again, you'll see same sort of thing here. You start with 24 special attack at base, and every time you score a goal, 16 special attack. So, like, you'll notice the numbers are a little bit higher on the special attack, and that just, you know, has to do with the fact that you can't just spam moves unless you're Gardevoir. Spoiler alert. Or, you know, Pokemon that have low cooldown moves. But special stack specs, stacking it 6 times, that's going to be, you know, a lot of special attack that you're going into compared to an enemy Alolan Ninetales, for example, an enemy Pikachu. If you go in with, you know, let's just say 636, 96, 120 more special attack than the enemy Pikachu, I'm pretty sure you're going to be hitting for a lot more in a Zapdos fight. So, you know, at max stacks, 6 stacks, 120 extra special attack, it's hard to justify not saying that's a good option, you know? And of course, like, if if you're in a game where you're getting completely boxed out, unable to score points, like you're stuck with like 50 points, 30, 40, 50 points in your inventory or your Pokeball, your Unite Ball, and you can't score them, like, yeah, these items are like essentially useless, and like that's a big problem. So you want to take that into account when considering whether or not to go those items. That's why I'm not putting them in best choices, because like they're not the best choices. They're just really solid options. They're good options. If you're willing to play in that way, but you know, instead of these items, you may want to go something in the niche / situational or even the suboptimal category, if that, you know, kind of floats your boat. But you know, just keep that in mind in terms of stacking items. We don't have any more of those to talk about, so that's good. So let's next talk about this this bad boy right here. This item is called the Energy Amplifier, and I'm going to put it in niche / situational. And a lot of people think this is really good, and I agree. Like, I think it is incredibly strong. So let me just explain it to you. The Energy Amplifier, as far as we know, again, like, this could change. I may be giving you false information, and for that, I sincerely apologize. But as far as we know, the energy gather rate plus 6% talked about here is energy towards your Unite move. So, like, as you have probably noticed, like, you get Unite move energy from scoring goals, knocking out enemies, knocking out wild Pokemon, taking objectives, you know, basically anything in the, or just like time passing by. Also, like, slowly, passively generates Unite move energy, so you can use your Unite move once it gets to 100% energy. So that's what this is, which, you know, really good. Like, Unite moves are insane in this game. Like, they're very impactful. They win fights. Like, that's just what this game is. Like, this game revolves around saving your Unite moves for key engagements that help you push objectives and help you push advantages across the map. So, like, 6%, while not a lot, is still like a decent amount in a game where you'll want to be getting your Unite move like 3, maybe even 4 times, depending on the Pokemon you're playing. Each one has a different inherent Unite move recharge time, which is really complicated. So anyway, and also you get 4.5% cooldown reduction, which just means like your moves will be ready 4.5% faster, which, you know, is not like, I'm on the fence about CDR in this game, and that's why I'm going to put this in the niche / well, that's not why, but that's one of the reasons why this goes in the niche / situational category, is because, like, you know, 4.5% in like the long run is pretty decent when you have like long cooldown moves. Like, for example, like Cinderace's Feint, which makes them invulnerable, which, by the way, like, you should pretty much always be going on them because it's literally a free invincibility button. That's on a 13-second cooldown, I think. So, you know, that impacts that a little bit. It probably saves, like, you know, 0.68-ish seconds on that cooldown, which could make the difference in a high-level game. So, something to be aware of, like, CDR, cooldown reduction, that's how I'm going to refer to it as, is nice, but, like, not game-breaking. I honestly wish that the CDR values were a little bit higher so that it would, like, kind of justify taking these items, but whatever. So, after using your Unite move, now we're getting into, like, the passive of this item. Those are just the base stats. After using your Unite move, you will deal more damage with your moves for a short time. Now, it's just your moves. So there is basic attacks in this game, and there are moves. Your moves are like your skill 1, your skill 2, and, well, your Unite move, but you already used it. So your moves are your skills, like, not your basic attacks or your auto attacks or however you want to refer to them as. Like, this doesn't give 21% extra damage to your auto attacks as well. If it did, this would honestly be a lot better. But because it's just on your moves, this really just benefits Pokemon such as Pikachu, who get a lot of their damage from their moves. Alolan Ninetales, kind of. Not as much as Pikachu, obviously. Like, Pikachu's just like your cookie cutter, like, caster, spell damage / move damage Pokemon in this game. So, you know, that is why I'm using them as an example a lot. But there are other characters in the game. Such as this will probably be really good on Gardevoir eventually when it comes out. So, you know, 21% damage is a lot. Like, any kind of percentage damage in this game that you can get, like, you're honestly really gonna want, because it's kind of huge. So it is really good, but you'll see, like, as we get further through this list, that because you only have 3 held item slots, it's hard to justify using this most of the time, because, you know, it's just like there are sometimes going to be better options. So, you know, keep that in mind. A lot of people are going to hate me for this one, but XP share is going in the probably not category, meaning you probably shouldn't take this. So it's a bit of a complicated item, and here's the issue with it. It rewards, like, it rewards not taking advantage of the experience available to you on the map. And while a lot of people are of the opinion that this item is, like, super good for, you know, a character like Eldegoss, or someone who can kind of roam to the 2 different lanes just back and forth the whole game and doesn't really get any experience from wild Pokemon in lanes, they just kind of go for kills and then roam back and forth. The issue is that, like, that is not a very realistic situation in this game. Like, you are going to be roaming, sure, like, roaming is incredibly important, going to another lane, but, like, once you're in the other lane, you want to push advantages as much as you can. That means basically draining the enemy jungle of the wild Pokemon that are in there, draining the enemy side of the lane of, for example, the Corphish or the Audino, depending on what side you're on, of those as well. And, like, the second you're not the lowest leveled Pokemon on your team, you are automatically holding a useless item. And yeah, it gives you a little bit of movement speed and 240 HP, but guess what also gives you a little bit of movement speed and 240 HP? Score Shield. So, like, I know there's like definitely a lot of debate on this, and, like, XP share could eventually see relevancy. I just personally don't see it being a viable option when there are so many other, like, insanely powerful held items to choose. And, like the role of a roaming support would never be such that they would just leave when there's free XP to be taken. Like, you want to push those advantages you get from roaming as much as you can. And that's why I just think, like, XP share is just not going to be a thing. Like, I'm sorry. That may change, though, you know? Don't shoot the messenger. Okay, so suboptimal is where I'm going to put the Floatstone. Now, here's the thing about Floatstone, and I think also Leftovers. They both activate when you're out of combat. So, yeah, like, you get a hefty amount of attack. Like, 24 attack is nothing to scoff at. Let's be clear there. That's why I didn't put this in probably not, because, like, 24 attack is decent. Attack weight only gives you 18. Muscle band gives you 15. So, like, 24 attack is a decent amount to, like, start the game with. Like, in terms of, like, having an advantage over your opponent. You know, that's like what? It's like 6 more attack. You know, it's not it's not a big deal, but could make the difference. And gives you 120 base speed. Just want to remind you that 150 speed from Score Shield. And what Floatstone does, like, for its passive, is it increases your movement speed while you're out of combat by 20%, which, you know, that's a lot of movement speed. Again, this is another one of those, like, if you were kind of a roaming character, this would be maybe potentially a solid item. However, the issue is, like, we don't really know how out of combat works, and from what we can tell, like, when even something as simple as walking by a wild Pokemon that, like, aggroes onto you can sometimes activate, like, in combat status, which will slow you down even if they don't hit you. So, like, until we know more about the out of combat status, the status of being out of combat, and here, let me just, like, go over that real quick, because a lot of people are not going to know what that means. It's something in this game, basically, like, when you're in combat, you move, I think, a little bit slower, and you are just like in that state. And being in combat means like you're doing damage, you're using moves, like I'm pretty sure you can use moves, for example, like movement based moves, or like any move really that's like not targeted, and still stay out of combat. But the second you like hit something or something hits you, you're officially like in combat. Hopefully that makes sense. So for example, Floatstone is only going to activate that 20% movement speed bonus while you're out of combat, which means, again, let's think about like taking advantages on the map, taking advantage of experience on the map. If you are, you know, walking by like wild Pokemon that you could be killing along your way to your roam, to the top lane or the bottom lane, like you're losing out on that experience just to get like 20% speed for a little bit of time. Like the walk from bottom to top or top to bottom like is kind of long, but it's not that long to warrant taking this item, I think. So in my opinion, like this item is suboptimal, but you know, you could definitely use it. I was talking with Pollux about this too, and like he brought up a really good point that like you could use this if you were trying to learn to jungle and wanted to kind of give yourself an extra little bit of movement speed boost just so you could get to lanes faster and kind of learn how to gank, learn the movement of the map a little bit easier. So, you know, that's a good point. In terms of like out of combat items, I want to just talk about leftovers as well. I'm going to put that here. While we're talking about out of combat, this is another item, like I said, that deals with the in combat / out of combat status. It gives you 240 HP. It gives you plus 9 HP recovery. We don't really know if that just means you're regenerating 9 HP per second or what, but like your HP recovery value will go up by 9. From our testing, like it really doesn't seem like a lot, to be honest, which is why this item is pretty much trashed here. But ironically, this is the item they give you to start with. So like everyone's going to start with this item, and it's up to you whether you level it or not, but I would recommend you don't, because there are a lot better options, which we still haven't really gotten to yet, which are coming up. So, but yeah, so the sort of out of combat proc for this item is that you get 2% of your max HP per second. So, you know, in less than a minute, you're 100 HP if you start at 1, like 1% of your HP, or even just 1 HP, which, you know, is decent. Like, but in a 10-minute game, like, it's a lot faster to just like go back to base to regenerate your HP. That also allows you to reposition using the launch pad at base, and it just gives you a lot more options than just like being forced to sit in your lane, spam potion, and like count on your leftovers out of combat HP regeneration to let you stay there, you know? Because you can get bursted down. Like this HP recovery plus 9, I'm telling you for sure, is not enough to keep you alive against a team that's just going to dive you if you're alone in a lane trying to hold it as like a Snorlax or like a defender like that. So, you know, not a great item, unfortunately. It's a shame to see leftovers get treated so poorly, especially when it's so great in the mainline games, especially in singles. But, you know, it is what it is. So, moving on, this item is Focus Band, and finally we have another good item we're going to talk about, and it's going to go up here in the good options, and let me talk about it. So Focus Band gives you both defense and special defense. So off the bat, like plus 30 to each, super solid, like very, very strong. Just allows you to be a tank, allows you to tank damage. But the passive here is really what makes this item like actually insane. And I debated like putting in best choices, but the thing is, like, I wanted to kind of like reserve best choices for like very universal options. I may still move it up there, we'll see. But the thing about Focus Band that makes it so crazy is that like when you are brought to low HP, we don't know what percentage that is, or like at what percentage that triggers, this HP regeneration triggers. But let's just say 10% HP. When you're brought to that level of HP, over 3 seconds, you are going to recover 42% of your max HP. 42%. Think about it, like, if you're a Snorlax, you have a ton of HP. Almost half of your health bar just in 3 seconds back. Like, of course, like, you're at low HP when this triggers, so like you're hoping that it heals you up fast enough over the 3 seconds, which of course in a MOBA battle, like 3 seconds is actually a very long time. But like if you can kite back a little bit or just like get your distance for enough time to take full advantage of this 42% HP over 3 seconds, like it's actually wild. So like you get 14% of your max HP over 3 seconds, like each second. So it's gonna be 14%, 14%, 14% for a max of 42, which, like, I mean, if you think about it, that's just like, that's so much HP back. Of course, this isn't going to be as impactful on like a damage dealer, but like in my opinion, you could like take this on something like Greninja, who will be weaving in and out of the battle and like sometimes has to go within melee range. For those who aren't familiar with that term, like melee range meaning like close quarters, like actually right up in their face. This could actually come in clutch for something like Greninja, especially given that Greninja's Unite move is one of the worst in the game and makes you like, you know, launch to where it is and you don't get your Unite move shield until after you finish both hits of the Unite move. So, you know, Focus Band, super solid item. Like, just think about that. 42% of your max HP over 3 seconds. Kind of crazy. Okay, moving on. Muscle Band, finally another S tier. So Muscle Band is ridiculous. They buffed it a little bit since the March beta. Don't tell anyone I told you. 15 attack at base and 7.5% attack speed. Kind of insane. Like, it was already a great item with those stats alone. It's the only item that lets you increase your attack speed. And like in a game where there are a lot of Pokemon that depend on their damage from attack speed, such as Greninja, Cinderace, Venusaur, to an extent also Alolan Ninetales a little bit, as well as, you know, Garchomp. Like, think about how Garchomp's passive makes its attacks ramp up in attack speed already. Throw another 7.5%. Again, the percentage like increases in this game, very important. On top of that, and like Garchomp is just going to be shredding. And the real kicker that makes this item S tier, otherwise it would totally be in like A tier, good options, whatever, is the passive. It lets you do additional damage with each of your basic attacks, and that is 3% of the damage of the enemy Pokemon's missing HP. So hopefully, to like simplify that for you, you're going to do 3% of whatever, like, let's say an enemy Pokemon, you have them down to 50% of their HP. Like, you're going to be doing 3% of whatever amount was missing. So again, to simplify it, let's just say they have 2,000 HP. You have them at 50% HP. So 1,000 of their HP is now missing. You're going to be doing 3% of that, which is 300 extra damage. Or wait, wow, sorry. No, it's 30 extra damage. Is that right? Let's just make sure. Yeah, 30 extra damage per auto attack. And of course, like, those numbers, like, I think most Pokemon have around like 4,000-ish. Like, it totally depends on the Pokemon. Don't hold me to that number. But again, like, the percentage damage on the missing HP, like, I know like saying 30 doesn't sound like a lot, but when your auto attacks are doing like 500-ish, like 30 is actually a decent chunk to add on to your already increased attack speed. So again, like, that illustration of like low numbers probably didn't actually help convince you that Muscle Band is absolutely ridiculous, but it is. Like, all these bonuses, attack speed, and missing HP % damage, like, think Blade of the Ruined King from League of Legends, just, you know, it's kind of bonkers. Actually, I'm not sure if Bork is, I think it's current HP, or is it missing HP? I don't know. One of you is going to tell me in the comments, that's for sure. So yeah, anyway, really good item. Rocky Helmet is next. Gonna put that in suboptimal. It's just not really good. Like, it gives you 240 HP. Again, it's a common theme for a lot of these items. 42 defense, which is quite a lot, which again, like, the reason I didn't put it in trash tier is because, like, you may find a purpose for this. You may find yourself in a meta of Pokemon Unite where it's mostly physical attackers and you're like, I'm kind of sick of this. I want to have a lot of defense and build that up. So you go Focus Band, Rugged Helmet, and you're just an absolute tank against physical damage. The passive for this, it once you kind of absorb enough damage, we don't really know how much that is, you deal a percentage of your max HP of damage to nearby opponents. So again, like you have 1,000 HP, you're gonna do 50 damage to the opponents around you. But again, like no Pokemon has 1,000 HP. That would be really low. But just to make the math simple for you guys. Anyway, Rocky Helmet, that's my opinion on that. I'm not gonna spend more time talking about it. Scope Lens. I really want to like this item, but I had to put it in niche/situational because it's just like not strong enough. It's the only item that doesn't have like an inherent passive. It just strictly 6% extra crit chance and 12% extra damage on your critical hits, which for a Pokemon like Greninja, who's doing like crazy 2,000 damage critical hit melee auto attacks, like that can actually be huge. I mean, that's like 220 extra damage on an already very hard hitting auto attack with a lot of attack speed. So, you know, keep that in mind when considering leveling this item. Like the game, I know the game suggests this item for basically all like ranged Pokemon, but I wouldn't necessarily have it as like one of the items I want to level first, if that makes sense. So, you know, super good item, like 12% extra damage. Again, like it's that whole percentage damage thing. Like it's nothing to scoff at, but just keep that in mind. All right, this one's controversial, but suboptimal. Here's the thing about Sherbell. It has an inherent cooldown. If you've used it before, you may not think so. But from what we can see, like it has an inherent cooldown. Like you, for example, like Greninja has Water Shuriken. It shoots multiple Shurikens. You only heal on the first Shuriken, and then this item Sherbell actually goes on a little bit of a cooldown before you can actually get healed from it again. What the passive does is it recovers some of your HP when you successfully land a move. Again, that's not an auto attack. That's a move, either skill 1 or your skill 2. Now, the 24 special attack, again, nothing to scoff at. Similar thing as, Floatstone with the 24 attack. Like, definitely nothing to scoff at. Gives you the most, oh, never mind. Wise Glasses does. But gives you one of the most, like, special attacks kind of bursts at the very start of the game. But I think this item just, like, really doesn't hold a candle to a lot of the other options, even with the cooldown reduction. Because, like, as you'll see, like, 75 HP. Now, I will say the one thing about Unite DB is they definitely have this HP number wrong, because like it changes. Like the HP amount we've noticed like changes throughout the match that you get healed, but it's still not a very significant amount. So I'm sorry, but suboptimal. Anyway, I'm trying to go quickly because I know I've been talking for a long time. But thanks to all you stuck around this long. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, comment down below what you'd like to see from me in the future. Would love to hear from you. So anyway, last but not least, definitely not least, one of the best items in the game as of the Japanese network test, definitely wasn't that good in the Canadian one, but is Wise Glasses. 39 special attack. That is a huge number to start the game with. I mean, just think about like how much extra damage you're going to be doing as a Pikachu or an Alolan Ninetales with almost 40 extra special attack compared to your opponent. Like, insane. And again, the passive is really what makes this crazy. A 7% increase to your special attack. And like, we don't know exact values of like how much special attack each Pokemon has. I hope that Teamy eventually makes that information available, either like on the character page itself or whatever. They have all those numbers in Arena of Valor, so I don't see why they wouldn't eventually have that information up. But all you need to know here is like 7%, like percentage special attack scaling. Think Death Cap in League of Legends. Like it's really good. Like it's a really good option for special attackers, and it's going to be one of the best choices that you're going to want to take. So, you know, I can't really go through each Pokemon and say like, oh, I recommend this item and this item and this item for them. But in terms of what I would look to level first as the game launches soon here in July, like these 8 items here are probably what I'd be looking at. If like these 6 interest you, definitely go for it. Like, like there's no reason not to try these out. Like if you want to go, then go for it. Like totally up to you. This is, again, just my personal opinion on everything. But I will say that I highly recommend you don't level these two, because I really don't think they're good. But like any of these, you know, solid choices. But in terms of like what I'm gonna level first, muscle band probably is gonna be, you know, because I play so much Greninja, that's gonna be one of the first ones I want to level. And buddy barrier and attack weight, because obviously those synergize. Like I said, the stacking items really synergize. Or sorry, not, I said buddy barrier, but I meant score shield right here. Score shield really synergizes with the 3 stacking items. And like I wouldn't go any of the stacking items unless you're also going score shield, because like they just synergize so well. And like in order to get the maximum value out of these stacking items, you need to get 6 stacks. Like you're not using them to the full potential that they have if you don't score 6 goals throughout the match. And what's going to help you do that the most? Score shield. But you know, if you're not interested in that kind of play style, which like, again, that's not for everyone, that's like how I like to play this game, but of course that may change, then look for like buddy barrier if you play more support / tank types, or even if you play a damage dealer. Like this is a super good item, gives your team a lot of shields during very important fights. Or, you know, look in this kind of category, like consider scope lens, consider energy amplifier for your 2, and definitely look at these items. I think like if you're wanting to play a damage dealer, like look at the damage type they do. If it's physical, go this. If it's special, go this. Like I'm 100% going to be leveling muscle band to 30 as soon as I can. So that's personally my take on all the items. Holy cow, that is a 42-minute video. Yikes. Okay, so wow, that's really long. But I guess that's kind of what it had to be in order to like talk about everything. If you made it this far, like shout outs to you for listening to me talk for 40 plus minutes. That's kind of yikes, but seriously, thank you. Sorry I couldn't make it shorter. Like I really wanted to give you guys a good like vision of what each item does. And especially like some of my friends that I've talked to about the game, like I want them to like have a clear idea of what each item does, explained from me. So, you know, hopefully that helps them. Hopefully that helps you. Again, like, sorry this is so long, but I don't think I could really trim it down that much. So sorry about that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. That is my tier list for the held items. I hope this helped. I hope this gave you a good idea of what to level when the game first launches, in terms of what items you want to get to level 30 first. So anyway, you guys, thank you. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends who are interested in the game, and until next time, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.